I have seen The Batman by Matt Reeves starring Robert Pattinson probably 5 times, and lately I've been thinking to myself, you know, if I was in charge of the next one, which just recently got announced at CinemaCon, what would I want to feature in the movie? Who would I want to be the main bad guy? Well, today I'll be going over 5 villains that I would like to see in The Batman, the sequel.
You freaking psycho!
Mad as the Hatter.
I always found the Mad Hatter to be a very interesting character simply because, unlike the Riddler, who's very cerebral and calculating,
Riddle me this.
Jervis Tetch is very quirky and creative, with the fantasy world he concocts around himself often being very whimsical and fantastical.
Welcome to Wonderland, Batman!
While at the same time still managing to have a dark and twisted side. In a way, he sort of fills the void left by the Joker, since we're very unlikely to have the Joker as the main villain in the sequel, and maybe in the threequel. After all, his deleted scene did get deleted for a reason. But unlike Joker, Mad Hatter has the capacity to be a very sympathetic villain if you play up the lonesome and hopeless romantic angle.
Would not. Could not.
Now, of course, in a city like Gotham, modeling your entire motif after an Alice in Wonderland character might seem like both a terrible and amazing idea, but his desire to pull people into his dark, twisted fantasy has the potential to cause major problems for Batman and Gotham as a whole. For example, one famous storyline from the 90s animated series involved using a dream machine to trap Bruce in an idealized world where his parents are still alive and he's married to Selina Kyle, basically containing him in a life he always wanted,
Just to keep you out of mine!
Oftentimes he's relegated to being a mere kidnapper who abducts young women and even children to play the role of Alice for him. But he also uses his mastery of hypnotism and mind control, which could be utilized to, like any other Batman villain, put a posse together. Maybe have them all wear costumes based off of Wonderland characters. That might be kind of cool. My main love for Mad Hatter, though, comes from his usage of mind control to plunge people into magical fantasy worlds modeled mostly after Wonderland. But this could provide a very beautiful visual treat akin to something like Tim Burton or American McGee's interpretations of the children's books.
Are you okay, Batman? I hope I didn't blow you up. I just wanted to be sure I had your full attention.
Number 2, Anarchy. A straight-up terrorist in the traditional sense. You've got the Molotov cocktails, the street violence, and all the political monologues and rantings you can handle. Now that the levees have broken in Gotham City, leaving everywhere flooded, I think this would be a very, very opportune time for someone like Anarchy and his gang to try and usher in a new system supposedly less corrupt and morally bankrupt as the previous one. In the movie, we see people protesting outside of the mayor's funeral, seemingly siding with the Riddler. So the city is already primed for some kind of revolutionary figure to clean things up. My idea for Anarchy would have him be an amalgamation of not only the original character, but also ones like Jason Todd, Clown Hunter, and maybe even Ghostmaker. All characters who are willing to do some level of vigilante justice, while at the same time more than okay with killing.
I'm doing what you won't. I'm taking them out.
Instead of it being overly personal like with the Riddler, Anarchy brings with him ideology, and thus provides an ethical dilemma for Batman. While I know that some people might not appreciate politics in these types of movies, I think that his goal of plunging Gotham into some kind of anarchic utopia is interesting considering Batman himself operates outside of the law. On top of that, he wears a red hood. See where I'm going with this? So I think it'd be cool to tie Anarchy into the Red Hood character, or rather have him be the leader of the Red Hood gang. For those who don't know who either are, the Red Hood gang is, well, a gang that models itself after the famous Red Hood thief, which is a moniker that is worn by various criminals and is often tied to the quasi-canon origin story of the Joker, wherein on his first crime gig, he wears the Red Hood costume only to accidentally trip and fall into the vat of chemicals that allegedly turned him into the Joker that we all know and love. Jason Todd, the second Robin that I mentioned earlier, also went by that moniker when he became an anti-hero. Now, if you want to have the Joker character maybe appear in the sequel, I think this would be a very interesting way to connect both Anarchy and the Joker as two villains who'd have it out for each other. And seeing as how this vigilante gang would be very bad for business, maybe Penguin can request Batman's help, stating that Batman kind of owes Oz for helping him solve the Riddler case.
Look at you two! World's greatest detectives!
Kinda. It could probably just ape a lot of the story beats from the famous Under the Red Hood animated movie. In a way, he's kind of a dark reflection of how Bruce Wayne could have turned out. A young man in his teens or early 20s whose youthful rage I think would be a very cool foil for Bruce's sort of methodical and stoic attitude.
Boy, I hear everything they say, ain't you? I guess we both are. How you doing? I'm Oz.
Number 3. The Penguin. Now you might be thinking, well, he was already in the first movie and he's already getting a miniseries on HBO, so why are you including him here? Well, hear me out. What if you did the plot to the Batman Arkham Origins video game, but simply replaced Black Mask with the Penguin? Penguin now doesn't have any competition with both Falcone, Maroni, and also the Riddler out of the picture, and so he has to deal with Batman focusing all of his attention on him. He needs him gone, so he puts a big, fat bounty on Batman's head.
I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burnt to the ground. I want to go to the middle of the night. I want to piss on his eggs.
I actually think that this could be very easy to do, simply because you could reduce the number of assassins in the game from 8 to maybe like 4 or 5 or so, and have Batman go through this gauntlet of assassins, preferably ones that haven't been used in a movie before. So you could have Electrocutioner, Copperhead, Firefly, and just have him knock out a bunch of lower tier villains in a single movie, without it feeling particularly overcrowded. And you know, speaking of, we didn't get a chance to do Ben Affleck's solo movie against Deathstroke. Maybe we could work that in here. You could do the storyline in which John Manganiello and Batfleck were going to have this really awesome ongoing fight throughout the movie, which I think would be a very excellent way to have this big test of Bruce's abilities and everything that he's been working hard towards. But honestly, the reason why I'd want it most of all is because the story takes place on Christmas, and I think we need to see more of Gotham in the wintertime. Just the overall aesthetic of it would be pretty, and also it would greatly jive well with Penguin, who's now the kingpin of the exact kind of environment that a penguin could thrive in. Now, number 4 on my list would have two seemingly unrelated characters, but whom I think would work very well together: the Court of Owls and Hush. A lot of people are asking for the new modern classic story that is the Court of Owls to feature prominently in the Batman sequel, including a couple of the main cast themselves.
I was definitely kind of thinking the Court of Owls is probably going to be in the sequel.
Court of Owls would be dope. Good thing it's not in this film.
But I think we can go further. First, we would have this secret society that has been running Gotham from the shadows for decades, if not hundreds of years since the city's founding. And we would also be incorporating a villain that we've already alluded to in the first Batman movie. That is Thomas Elliot, aka Hush, who, thanks to the first movie, now has a very simple motivation, which was that his father was murdered by Carmine Falcone, who was hired by Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas Wayne, during his mayoral campaign. The Court of Owls is this large, encompassing organization that is dead set on completely destroying the Wayne family line along with its legacy. And, you know, take out this Batman character while they're at it. Someone like Hush would benefit greatly from working with and or for them. Bruce's family legacy has already become unraveled since his encounter with the Riddler. So it will be interesting to have someone like Elliot who wants to not just stick the knife in, but also twist it and torture Bruce with it. Because for him, it's more personal than it is for the court. Now, you probably couldn't do the original Hush storyline because it requires bringing all of Batman's most famous villains together. So instead, I'd focus on the Heart of Hush storyline by Paul Dini, which is much more focused on the origin story and how his life got really fucked up due to Bruce's parents interfering in his life. And to top it all off, I think it would be awesome to have Thomas Elliot voluntarily becoming a Talon. I just really want to see Batman fight against a villain that can match him in terms of physical prowess. With the exception of Bane, we haven't really gotten anyone who can really go toe-to-toe with Bats in a live-action movie. It's something that we've been really missing, and combining both Hush and Talon together into this sort of newish character, I think would be the perfect vehicle to do that.
So these pies are...
people. Yep, they're people pies. And you're all going to eat them.
Finally, at the top of list of villains I want for the Batman the sequel, and maybe threequel, is Professor Pig and the Circus of the Strange. Now, when I say Circus of the Strange, I am of course talking about the sideshow characters that Pig enlists for his psychotic crusade in making people of Gotham City perfect and in his own image.
Pig, make her better. Pig, make us better.
But the main reason why I want to talk about them in particular is because this group's story would be a perfect opportunity to introduce a whole bunch of Batman's villains who are known for their freakish appearance, but otherwise would be kind of difficult to pull off in their own solo movies. So you could have Killer Croc, Jane Doe, Ragdoll. It's a believable way of having all of these characters at once. You can give each of them a little moment to showcase their powers or abilities without overshadowing the main villain and hero. Now, speaking of, this would all be helmed by Mr. Pig himself, of course. Given how crazy and gross his character is, you might be pushing an R rating, but you know, he's been in PG-13 comment and even in kids' cartoons before. As you folks probably know, Pig is not the only Batman character to have their story tied to the circus. The other famous Batman character that I would want to be in this movie would be Robin. He has to come back. Come on, Warner Brothers. It's been how many years since Batman and Robin? We're on our third Batman since then, and arguably worse Batman movies have since come out. Robin has been around longer than the Joker, and look how oversaturated his character is. You could very easily combine Dick Grayson's origin story with his acrobat parents being killed off, and Damian Wayne's storyline, which is the one that introduced Professor Pig to begin with. Just a whole bunch of things that you can feature and reference together. I think the fans would greatly appreciate it. So there you have it. Those are my top 5 Batman villain choices that I would like to feature in the sequel. If I mentioned a character that you also want to see, give this video a like. But if I didn't mention one that you wanted, then by all means leave it down in the comments. I'd love to hear from all of you. And also, I'd love to share with you my thoughts on opinions about other Batman related media, such as the Arkham Knight game, the Gotham TV show, and the Suicide Trilogy. So definitely subscribe if you want to see all of that in the future. But until then, this is J. Brad, signing out.
I got you! I got you!